This lesson is Chapter 4, Lesson 2, Part 2. We talked about factors and prime numbers in the last one, and now we're going to talk about prime factorization in this lesson. And prime factorization is breaking a number down into a product of its prime factors, and we're going to take a look at what this looks like. So, I'll give you an example. For example, 6. 6 is not a prime number. So, we are going to break it down into a product of its prime factors. So this is the first way you can do it. And this is called, it's called a couple different things. It can be called factor trees, or it can be called factor fireworks. I don't care what you call it, but this is my preferred method, but it's up to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to split up 6 into two multiples of 6. So what's the only thing that we can do for 6? We can split it into 2 and 3. And since 2 is prime, we're going to circle it. And since 3 is prime, we're going to circle it. So our answer is 2 times 3 is the prime factorization of 6. One way you can always check it at the end is multiply them together, see if they multiply to get 6. Now that was an easy one. Let's go to a little tougher one. Let's try the number 24. So we're going to break that into two numbers that multiply together to get 24. And what you're going to find is that there are a couple different ways you can do this, and they all will end up with the same answer. So I'm going to choose 6 and 4. Now, I cannot circle 6 or 4 because neither one of those are prime. So I need to further break them down. So I'm going to break 6 down into 3 times 2, and both of those numbers are prime, so I'm going to circle them. And then I'm going to break 4 down into 2 times 2. And both of those numbers are prime, so I'm going to circle them. So then how I write it is I write all those numbers. 3 as a multiple times 2 times 2 times 2. And if you remember exponents, another way you can write that is 3 times 2 to the third power. That's correct, and that's correct. That's just an easier way to remember it. Now I want to look at it a different way. You might have said, well, what if I chose a different way? What if I chose different numbers from 24? Well, you are going to end up with the same answer anyways, and I'll show you. So we could have gone 12 and 2. Now I would circle the 12, circle the 2, because 2 is prime. I'd have to break down that 12 again. I could do, let's say, 6 and 2. There's another prime number, 2. I could break that down into 3 times 2, and then we're down to all prime numbers. So I would get 3 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is exactly what we got over there. So it really doesn't matter what numbers you pick. So this time I want you to try with me. We're going to try the number 30. Pause and solve. Okay, so 30, we can break it up a couple different ways. You could go 10 and 3, you could go 6 and 5, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 6 and 5. That 5 is prime, so I'm going to circle it. Then that 6 I'm going to break up to 3 and 2, which are both prime. And so my answer is going to be 3 times 2 times 5. Okay, let's try one more. Let's try 60. Pause and solve. Okay, let's split this up. I'm going to do 30 and 2 here. 2 is prime. 30 I'm going to break into, let's see, 15 and 2. 2 is prime again. 15 I'm going to go to 5 and 3, which are both prime. So my answer is going to be 5 times 3 times 2 times 2, or 5 times 3 times 2 squared, which is the same. So that is how you use factor fireworks to find prime factorization. Now I'm going to show you a different method, and it's called the ladder method. We're going to use 24 to solve that. So here's the ladder method. In the ladder method, all you do is it's almost like an upside down division. All we're going to do is we're going to take out prime numbers from that. So we're going to take this, and then we're going to put a prime number here. What prime number can we pull out of 24? What I always like to do is, if I can, start out with 2. So I'm going to pull 2 out of there. So if I do 24 divided by 2, that leaves me with 12 left. Now I'm going to pull another prime number out. Since it's still even, I'm going to pull another 2 out. So I'm going to pull a 2 out, and then I'm going to do 12 divided by 2. That leaves us with 6. 6 is still a composite number, and I can still take another 2 out of there. So I'm going to take a 2 out of there, which leaves me with 3. So now I'm left at the bottom with a prime number, so that's how I know that I'm going to stop. And then these 3 are prime numbers. So our answer is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, or 2 to the third power times 3. So all you have to do is keep pulling prime numbers out. Let's try with 25. So with 25, what prime number can you take out of 25? You can take a 5 out, right? And 25 divided by 5 is 5. Hey, that one's easy. Because you take a prime number out and you're left with a prime number, so all there is 5 times 5. Let's try one more. We might have already done this number with the other one. We're going to do 30 again with this one. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pull a prime number out. I can pull 2 out, which leaves me with 15. 15 is not prime. What can I pull up? What prime number can I pull out of 15? I could pull a 3, which leaves me with 5, which is a prime number. So those are my 3 numbers. It's going to be 2 times 3 times 5 is a prime factorization of 30. So those are the 2 different ways that you can do it. Now I'm going to give you a problem, and I want you to use whichever way is comfortable for you to solve. I think we already did 60, so we're going to try it with 80, because I think we did 60 before. So pause and solve for 80. Do whichever way you want to do. Pause. Okay. So I'm going to do fireworks because that's the way I'm most comfortable with. So 80, we can split it into, let's see, 40 and 2. We can split 40 into 20 and 2. We can split 20 into 10 and 2. And 10 into 5 and 2. Which would give us 5 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, or 5 times 2 to the 4th power. Now, I could have done that like this. 80, pull a 2 out, which gives me 40. Pull a 2 out, which gives me 20. Pull a 2 out, which gives me 10. Pull a 2 out, which gives me 5. Which is basically exactly what I did on this. So whichever way you went about it is good. Now, the only other thing that I want to talk about is how you're going to see it on tests. It's going to give you some answers for prime factorization. 80 that we just did was 5 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 5 times 2 to the 4th power. One way you can double check your answer is you could do 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 2, or I'm saying, let's see, I'm going to do that in an even easier way. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 5 times 2 is 10, so 10 times 8 is 80. That'd be a way to check it. Now, notice, did I have any 1s in my prime factorization? I did not. 2 is prime, 1 is not. You should never have a 1 in your prime factorization. Write that big in your notebook. Write that in big letters, because that's important. And the other thing is, you should never have a composite in prime factorization. So you can write that down. So I'm going to give you a couple options. Here's what it might ask you on test. It might say which one is a prime factorization of a number, A, B, or C. Which one of those would be the prime factorization of a number? You need to use your brain and solve that. So pause it and write down in your notebook A, B, or C. Okay, so like I just said, 1 is not a prime number, so A cannot be the prime factorization of a number. 15 is not prime because you can split it into 5 and 3, so B cannot be the prime factorization of a number. 2 and 5 and 3 are all prime, so they can be prime factorization of a number. So those are some things you need to keep in mind. We will see you tomorrow.